Chapter 1. Early life in Frankfurt. Anne Frank was born in 1929 in Frankfurt, Germany. She was the second daughter of Otto and Edith Frank. Her sister Margot was 3 years older. Anna's family was Jewish, which was very important in her life. Frankfurt was a big city with many people and lots of things to see and do. Annie's father, Otto, worked in a bank. He was a smart and kind man. Her mother, Edith, took care of the family. They lived in a nice house and had a good life. Anne was a happy child. She liked to play with her friends and go to school. Her family often visited their relatives. These visits were full of laughter and stories. Anne loved to listen to her relatives. They told her about their lives and the history of their family. In school, Anne was a lively student. She enjoyed reading and writing. Her teachers said she was very clever. Anne had many friends at school. They played together after classes. They liked to explore the city. Sometimes they went to the park or the cinema. Anne's early life in Frankfurt was happy, but things started to change in Germany. In 1933, a man named Adolf Hitler came to power. He did not like Jewish people. This was bad news for Anna and her family. Otto and Edith were worried about their daughter's future. They decided to leave Germany. They wanted a safe place for their family. In 1934, they moved to Amsterdam, in the Netherlands. This was a big change for Annie. She had to leave her friends and her school, but her family was together. They hoped for a better life in their new home. Anne's early years in Frankfurt were full of happy memories. But they were also a time of big changes. These changes would shape the rest of her life. Anne's story is not just about her. It is about many people who faced difficult times. Her life in Frankfurt shows how quickly things can change. It reminds us to appreciate our families and our homes. Anne's family background is an important part of her story. It helps us understand her better. We see a young girl who loved life. We also see a family that had to leave everything behind. Anne's story starts in Frankfurt, but it becomes much bigger. It is a story of hope, courage, and the power of family. Anne Frank's early life is a lesson for us all. It teaches us about history and about being strong in hard times. Anne Frank's childhood in Frankfurt was full of joy and laughter. She lived in a lively neighborhood where the streets were always bustling with people. Anne loved to play outside with her sister, Margot, and their friends. They would often play hide-and-seek or tag. Anne was known for her bright smile and her quick running. She was always full of energy. Anne also enjoyed school. She was curious and loved to learn new things. Her favorite subjects were reading and writing. She would often write short stories and share them with her friends. Anne's parents encouraged her love for learning. They often read books together as a family. Anne had a special bond with her father, Otto. He would tell her stories about his travels. These stories filled Anne with wonder and excitement. She dreamed of seeing the world one day. Holidays were a special time for Anne and her family. They celebrated Jewish traditions together. Anne loved these moments. They would light candles, say prayers, and enjoy meals together. These traditions were important to Anne. They made her feel connected to her family and her culture. Anne also loved music. Her family often listened to the radio. They would hear songs and news from around the world. Anne enjoyed dancing to the music. She had a natural rhythm and grace. Sometimes Anne and her family would go on trips. They visited beautiful places in Germany. These trips were full of adventure. Anne liked to explore new places and meet new people. She always had questions about everything. Anne's home was a place of warmth and love. She felt safe and happy there. Her parents made sure she and Margot had everything they needed. They had many books, toys, and games. Anne's room was her special place. She decorated it with pictures and keepsakes. It was her little world. In her room, Anne would dream and write in her diary. She wrote about her day, her thoughts, and her dreams. Her diary was her best friend. She could tell it anything. Anne's early years in Frankfurt were happy, but as she grew, the world around her started to change. These changes were scary and confusing for Anne, but her childhood memories remained a source of strength. They reminded her of happy times and the love of her family. Anne's story is not just about the hard times, it is also about the joy and beauty of life. Her childhood memories show us the power of love, family, and hope. They remind us to cherish every moment and to stay strong in difficult times. Anne Frank's early life in Frankfurt is an important part of her story. It shows us who she was before the world changed. Her memories are a treasure that helps us understand her better. They are a reminder of the innocence and beauty of childhood. Chapter 2. Life in Amsterdam. When Anne Frank and her family moved to Amsterdam, it was a big change for her. She had to leave her old life in Frankfurt behind. In Amsterdam, Anne started a new school. At first, she felt nervous. Everything was different. The language, the people, and the city were all new to her. But Anne was a brave girl. She quickly made new friends at school. Her classmates liked her because she was friendly and funny. Anne was also a good student. She worked hard in her classes. Her favourite subjects were still reading and writing. Anne's teachers noticed her talent. They encouraged her to keep writing. Anne's new friends in Amsterdam were important to her. They would play together after school. They explored the city, visited parks, and rode their bikes. Amsterdam was full of canals and beautiful buildings. Anne loved to walk along the canals and look at the boats. Sometimes, Anne and her friends would go to the movies. They watched films and laughed together. These were happy times for Anne. She felt like she was part of the group. At school, Anne learned about Dutch culture and history. She found it interesting. She also learned to speak Dutch quickly. Anne wanted to fit in with her new friends. She tried to learn as much as she could about the Netherlands. Anne's family also made new friends in Amsterdam. They met other families who had come from Germany. These families shared their stories and supported each other. Anne felt a sense of community in Amsterdam. It was different from Frankfurt, but it was good. Anne's life in Amsterdam was not always easy. There were still problems in the world. The news from Germany was worrying. Anne and her family followed the news closely. They hoped that things would get better, but they were also prepared for difficult times. Anne's school in Amsterdam was a special place for her. It was where she grew and learned. It was where she made lifelong friends. These friends would play a big part in her life. They were there for her in good times and bad times. Anne's life in Amsterdam was a mix of old and new. She missed Frankfurt, but she also loved her new home. She was learning and growing every day. Amsterdam was now a part of her story. Anne's school and friends in Amsterdam helped her become who she was. They were a big part of her journey. Anne's story shows us the importance of friendship and learning. It reminds us that even in new places, we can find joy and belonging. Anne Frank's life in Amsterdam is a story of adaptation and resilience. It shows us how a young girl found her place in a new world. It is a story of hope and courage in the face of change. Moving to Amsterdam was a big step for Anne Frank and her family. They had to start a new life in a country that was very different from Germany. Anne's father, Otto, worked hard to set up a new business. He wanted to make sure his family was safe and comfortable. Anne's mother, Edith, also worked hard to make their new house feel like a home. She decorated it and cooked delicious meals. Anne and her sister Margot helped their parents. They understood that everyone needed to work together. In Amsterdam, the Franks lived in a tall, narrow house. It had steep stairs and large windows. From the windows, Anne could see the busy streets of Amsterdam. She liked to watch people walking by and boats sailing in the canals. The family also had to get used to new food and customs. Dutch cheese, bread and herring were new to them, but they quickly grew to like these foods. Anne and her family also learned about Dutch holidays and traditions. They celebrated King's Day and learned about Dutch history. These new experiences were exciting for Anne. She felt like she was learning something new every day. Anne and Margot also had to learn Dutch. It was important for them to speak the language. They practiced every day. Soon they were able to talk with their new friends and neighbours. Learning Dutch helped them feel more at home in Amsterdam. In their new city, the Franks found a Jewish community. This community was a big support for them. They met other families who had also left Germany. These families shared their stories and helped each other. Being part of this community made the Franks feel less alone. They knew they were not the only ones facing these changes. Anne's father, Otto, became a leader in the community. He helped other families who were new to Amsterdam. He gave them advice and support. Otto's work was important. It made a difference in many people's lives. For Anne, settling into a new country was both challenging and exciting. She missed her old home, but she also liked her new life. She saw it as an adventure. She was curious about everything and wanted to learn as much as she could. Anne's life in Amsterdam taught her a lot. She learned about strength, courage, and hope. She saw that even in difficult times, people can find happiness and friendship. Anne's story in Amsterdam is about more than just moving to a new country. It is about finding a new way of life. It shows us how a young girl adapted to a new world. Anne's experiences in Amsterdam shaped her into the person she became. Her story is a lesson in resilience and the power of a positive attitude. Chapter 3. Life in Amsterdam. In Amsterdam, Anne Frank found a new beginning. She started going to a school called Montessori School. This school was different from her old one in Frankfurt. The teachers were kind, and the classrooms were bright and welcoming. Anne quickly made friends. She was outgoing and liked to talk. Her classmates enjoyed her stories and her sense of humour. Anne was a good student. She liked to learn, especially reading and writing. Her teachers saw that she was talented. They encouraged her to write more. Anne's new friends were important to her. They played together after school. They explored Amsterdam's streets and parks. Anne loved the freedom of riding her bike through the city. She felt happy and alive. Anne and her friends also shared secrets and dreams. They talked about their futures and the world around them. These friendships were special to Anne. They made her feel like she belonged. Anne's school days in Amsterdam were full of learning and fun. But there were also challenges. The world was changing. News from Germany was worrying. Anne and her friends talked about these changes. They knew that life could be hard. But they also knew the importance of staying hopeful. Anne's school in Amsterdam was a safe place for her. She could be herself and learn without fear. The school was a big part of her life. It helped her grow and become more confident. Anne's teachers and friends influenced her a lot. They showed her kindness and understanding. They made her feel valued and respected. In her new school, Anne learned not just about subjects, but also about life. She learned about friendship, respect, and courage. These lessons were important for her. They helped her face the challenges ahead. Anne's life in Amsterdam was a mix of old and new. She missed Frankfurt, but she also loved Amsterdam. She was finding her place in this new city. Anne's story in Amsterdam is not just about a young girl in a new school. It is about finding strength and happiness in new beginnings. It is about the power of education and friendship. Anne's experiences in her new school show us how important it is to be open to new experiences. They remind us that even in times of change, we can find joy and belonging. Anne Frank's time in school in Amsterdam was a key part of her journey. It shaped her into the person she became. It is a story of hope, learning, and the power of a positive attitude. Anne Frank's everyday life in Amsterdam was filled with small joys and new hobbies. She loved exploring the city with its beautiful canals and old houses. Amsterdam had a charm that Anne found magical. She often walked or cycled through the city, observing the bustling life around her. Anne had a keen eye for detail and loved to watch people going about their daily lives. At home, Anne had many hobbies that kept her busy. She loved reading books. Her father, Otto, encouraged this passion by bringing her books of all kinds. Anne immersed herself in stories and adventures, travelling to far-off lands through her imagination. She also enjoyed writing in her diary. This diary became her closest confidant. Anne wrote about her daily experiences, her thoughts, and her feelings. It was a way for her to express herself freely. Writing gave Anne a sense of peace and clarity. Anne was also fond of collecting pictures of movie stars and royalty. She pasted these pictures in a scrapbook, which she loved to look through. This hobby was a source of delight for her. It connected her to a world of glamour and elegance, far away from the troubles of her time. Photography was another interest of Anne's. She loved taking pictures with a small camera she had. These pictures captured moments of her life in Amsterdam, the streets, her family, her friends. They were snapshots of a world that was rapidly changing. Anne also spent time with her family. They played board games, read books, and discussed various topics. These moments were precious to Anne. They strengthened the bond she shared with her family. In Amsterdam, Anne discovered a love for history and art. She often visited museums and historical sites with her friends and family. These visits deepened her understanding of Dutch culture and history. Anne's life in Amsterdam wasn't all about hobbies and exploration. She also had responsibilities. She helped with chores at home and took care of her younger sister, Margot. Anne took these responsibilities seriously. They were a part of her everyday life. Despite the growing unrest in Europe, Anne's life in Amsterdam had moments of normalcy and happiness. Her hobbies and daily activities provided her with comfort and a sense of normal life. Anne's everyday life in Amsterdam shows a young girl's resilience and ability to find joy in small things. It is a testament to her spirit and her ability to adapt to new circumstances. Her story in Amsterdam is not just about the darkness of the times, but also about the light found in everyday joys and hobbies. Anne Frank's life in Amsterdam, with its blend of routine and hobbies, paints a picture of a young girl's world, a world that was ordinary yet extraordinary in its simplicity and richness. Chapter 4. The War Begins. When World War II began, Anne Frank's life in Amsterdam changed drastically. The peaceful days she knew were disappearing. The Netherlands was invaded by Germany in 1940, and this brought many challenges for Anne and her family. Anne, who was just a young girl, had to face a world filled with uncertainty and fear. The invasion meant that the freedoms Anne once enjoyed were now at risk. The German occupation brought strict rules, especially for Jewish people. Anne and her family were deeply affected by these changes. They had to follow new laws that limited what they could do and where they could go. Anne felt these changes deeply. She could no longer go to her beloved Montessori school. Instead, she had to attend a Jewish school. This was hard for Anne. She missed her friends and teachers. The new school was different, and it took time for her to adjust. The streets of Amsterdam, once full of life, started to look different. There were German soldiers everywhere. Signs and posters with new rules appeared in the city. Anne saw how these changes affected people. Fear and worry were common feelings among her family and friends. For Anne,
The war also meant changes at home. Her father, Otto, had to be careful with his business. The family had to be cautious about what they said and did. They were always aware of the danger that could come at any time. Despite these challenges, Anne tried to stay positive. She continued to write in her diary. Writing helped her deal with her feelings. She wrote about the changes she saw and how they made her feel. Anne's diary became even more important to her during this time. It was her way of escaping the difficulties around her. Anne's family also faced the challenge of shortages. Food and other essentials became hard to get. They had to adapt to these new circumstances. Simple things like a hot meal or a new pair of shoes became luxuries. Anne and her family had to be creative and resourceful. They learned to make do with what they had. During this time, Anne grew up quickly. She saw the world changing around her. She understood that life was not always easy or fair, but she also learned about strength and hope. Anne's story during the beginning of the war is a powerful one. It shows how a young girl faced enormous changes and challenges. It is a story of adapting to a new, harsh reality. Anne's resilience and spirit during these times are inspiring. They remind us of the strength that we all have inside us. Anne Frank's life during the beginning of World War II is a testament to the human spirit's ability to endure in the face of adversity. It is a story of a young girl's courage and determination to hold on to hope even in the darkest of times.
As World War II progressed, its impact on Anne Frank's family became more severe. The German occupation brought new, strict rules that targeted Jewish people, greatly affecting their daily lives. Anne's father, Otto, who once ran a successful business, now faced many restrictions. He could no longer do business as he used to. This was stressful for him. He worried about keeping his family safe and providing for them. Anne's mother, Edith, also faced challenges. She had to manage the household with limited resources. Food and basic necessities were scarce. Edith worked hard to make sure her family had enough to eat. She often had to stand in long lines to get food. She also had to be creative with what she could find. Anne and her sister, Margot, felt the impact of the war too. They could no longer live a normal life. They had to follow strict curfews and could not freely meet their friends. Their education was disrupted. Margot had to leave her high school, and Anne could no longer attend her Montessori school. They both had to go to a separate school for Jewish children. This separation from their friends was hard for them. The family also had to wear yellow stars on their clothes. This was a rule made by the Germans. It made them stand out as Jewish. This was scary and humiliating for them. They felt marked and different. The war also brought fear to their lives. The Franks heard about Jewish people being taken away by the Germans. They did not know what would happen to them. This fear was always in the back of their minds. The family had to be very careful. They could not trust everyone. They had to keep a low profile and avoid drawing attention to themselves. Despite these challenges, the Frank family tried to keep a sense of normalcy. They celebrated holidays and birthdays. They tried to keep each other's spirits up. Otto and Edith did their best to protect their daughters and give them hope. They talked about the future and made plans. They believed that the war would end one day and that they would be free again. The impact of the war on Anne Frank's family was profound. It changed their lives in many ways, but it also showed their strength and unity. They faced the challenges together and supported each other. This period in their lives was difficult, but it also brought them closer as a family. Anne's story during this time is not just about the hardships of war. It is also about the power of family and the strength that comes from sticking together. It is a story of resilience and hope in the face of adversity. The Frank family's experience during the early years of World War II is a powerful example of how families can endure and support each other, even in the darkest times. Chapter 5. Going into hiding. In 1942, Anne Frank's family made a crucial decision that would change their lives forever. They decided to go into hiding. This decision came after Margot, Anne's older sister, received a call-up notice from the German authorities. The notice meant that Margot had to go to a labour camp. The Franks knew that going to the camp was dangerous. They had heard about the terrible conditions in these camps. They were afraid for Margot's safety and for their own lives. Otto Frank, Anne's father, had been preparing for this possibility. He had been planning a hiding place in the building where he worked. This building had an office on the front and a secret annex at the back. The annex was hidden behind a bookcase. It was a small space, but it was away from the outside world. The decision to go into hiding was not easy. The family had to leave their home and everything familiar. They could not tell most of their friends about their plans. They had to be very secretive. The night before they went into hiding, Anne packed a small bag. She took some clothes, a few personal items, and her diary. She felt scared and unsure about the future, but she also knew that this was the only way to stay safe. On the morning of July 6, 1942, the Frank family left their home. They wore several layers of clothing to avoid carrying luggage. This made it less obvious that they were going into hiding. They walked quietly through the streets of Amsterdam. They were headed to the secret annex. Anne felt a mix of fear and sadness as she walked. She was leaving behind her life, her friends, and her school. She did not know when she would return. The Frank family was joined in the annex by 4 other Jewish people. These were Otto Frank's business partner, Mr. Van Pels, his wife and son, and later, a dentist named Fritz Pfeffer. Living in the annex was challenging. The space was small, and they had to be quiet during the day. They could not make any noise that might be heard by the people in the office below. The people in the office, who were friends of Otto Frank, helped them. They brought food, news from the outside world, and other necessities. The decision to go into hiding was the beginning of a long and difficult journey for Anne Frank and her family. It was a time of uncertainty and fear. But it was also a time of courage and hope. Anne's story of going into hiding is not just about escaping danger. It is about the strength of the human spirit in the face of impossible choices. It is a story of a family's love and determination to survive. The Frank family's choice to go into hiding during World War II is a powerful testament to their bravery and their will to live, despite the overwhelming threats they faced. The secret annex where Anne Frank and her family went into hiding was a hidden part of her father's office building. It was located at 263 Prinsengracht in Amsterdam. To enter the annex, they had to go through a door hidden behind a movable bookcase. This secret door was the gateway to their hidden world. The annex was a small space with a few rooms spread over 2 floors. It had a kitchen, a bathroom, and a living area. The windows were covered with thick curtains to prevent anyone from seeing inside. Anne shared a room with Fritz Pfeffer, the dentist. This was difficult for her because she was used to having her own space. The Van Pels family, who joined them in hiding, also lived in the annex. Life in the annex was not easy. The 8 people had to be very quiet during the day. This was when the workers were in the office below. They could not talk loudly, play music, or make any noise. They lived in constant fear of being discovered. Despite these challenges, they tried to create a routine. They read books, listened to the radio, and talked quietly among themselves. Otto Frank and the helpers who knew about the annex provided them with food and news from the outside world. Anne found comfort in her diary. She wrote about her life in the annex, her feelings, and her thoughts about the world. Her diary was her friend in this hidden place. She also wrote short stories and started to rewrite her diary, hoping to publish it after the war. Anne and the others in the annex also studied. Anne continued her education with the help of books and guidance from the adults. This helped her stay busy and keep her mind active. Birthdays and holidays were still celebrated in the annex. They were small, quiet celebrations, but they brought some joy to their hidden lives. These moments were important for keeping their spirits up. The people in the annex formed a sort of family. They supported each other through the hard times. They shared stories, laughter, and sometimes arguments. But they were united in their hope for a better future. Anne's life in the secret annex was a time of growth and reflection. She learned about herself and the world. She faced the challenges of living in hiding with courage and resilience. The secret annex was a place of fear, but also a place of hope. It was where Anne wrote her now famous diary, a document that would inspire people all over the world. Anne Frank's time in the secret annex is a story of endurance and the power of the human spirit. It shows how people can find strength and hope even in the darkest of times. The secret annex was a place of refuge, but also a place where Anne grew up and found her voice as a writer. Chapter 6. Life in Hiding. Life in the secret annex, where Anne Frank and her family were hiding, was governed by a strict daily routine. This routine was necessary to ensure their safety. During the day, while the workers were in the building, they had to be very quiet. They could not talk loudly or walk around much. The risk of being discovered was always there. Anne's day started early in the morning. She would quietly get up and freshen up. Since the bathroom could only be used at certain times to avoid noise, they had to be quick and silent. Breakfast was a quiet affair. They ate simple meals, often just bread and some spread. Otto Frank, Anne's father, organized the food supplies. He was helped by some trusted employees who knew about the people in hiding. These helpers brought them food and other necessities. After breakfast, the day was spent reading, studying and writing. Anne spent a lot of time with her diary. She wrote about her experiences, her feelings, and her observations of the people around her. Writing was a way for her to escape the confines of the annex. It was her way of dealing with the stress and fear of their situation. Anna also studied a variety of subjects to keep up with her education. She learned history, languages, and even shorthand. Her father and the other adults in the annex helped with her studies. Reading was another important part of their daily routine. Books were a source of entertainment and a way to learn about the world outside. The radio was their only connection to the outside world. They listened to news broadcasts to stay informed about the war. This was often done in silence and with much anxiety. Lunch and dinner were also simple meals. Cooking and eating had to be done quietly. They often ate the same food for days because of limited supplies. After dinner, they sometimes played quiet games or talked softly about various topics. These conversations were a way to keep their spirits up and bond with each other. The nights in the annex were long and often difficult. They went to bed early, but sleep was sometimes hard to come by. The fear of being discovered was always present. Despite the challenges, they tried to maintain a sense of normalcy. They celebrated birthdays and holidays in a modest way. These celebrations brought some joy and a break from the daily stress. Anne's life in hiding was marked by this strict routine. It was a life of waiting and hoping. Waiting for the war to end and hoping for freedom. Her diary entries from this time show a young girl trying to make sense of her world. Anne's daily routine in the annex was a testament to her strength and resilience. It shows how she and her family managed to find some stability in a situation full of uncertainty and fear. In the secret annex where Anne Frank and her family were hiding, life was not just about following a daily routine. It was also about managing relationships and dealing with tensions. Living in such close quarters with the same people every day was challenging. There were 8 people in the annex: Anne's family, the Van Pels family,
and Mr. Fritz Pfeffer. They all had different personalities and habits. This sometimes led to disagreements and tension. Anne, being a young teenager, often found herself in conflict with the adults. She was growing up and trying to find her own identity. This sometimes made her rebellious and critical of the others. Anne had a particularly difficult relationship with her mother, Edith. They did not always understand each other. Anne felt that her mother did not know how to show her love in the way Anne wanted. This led to some painful moments for both of them. Anne was closer to her father, Otto. She saw him as a source of wisdom and comfort. She often turned to him for advice and support. Anne also had a strained relationship with Mr. Pfeffer, the dentist who shared her room. They had different habits and ways of doing things. This caused friction between them. Living together for so long in such a small space, privacy was a major issue. Everyone in the annex needed some space and time alone, but this was hard to find. They had to learn to respect each other's needs and boundaries. Despite these challenges, there were also moments of friendship and kindness. Anne developed a close relationship with Peter Van Pels, the son of the Van Pels family. They talked about their hopes and fears. They supported each other in the difficult times. This friendship was important to Anne. It gave her a sense of understanding and connection. The adults in the annex also had their own challenges. They worried about the safety of their families and the future. They had to make decisions about their living situation and how to manage their limited resources. This sometimes led to disagreements, but they also supported each other. They shared the responsibility of keeping everyone safe and maintaining their hidden life. Celebrations and holidays in the annex were times of togetherness and joy. They helped to ease the tensions and bring some normalcy to their lives. These moments were important for their mental health. They reminded them of the life outside and the hope for a better future. Life in the annex was a delicate balance of managing relationships and dealing with the pressures of their situation. Anne's diary, entries from this time, show her growing understanding of people and relationships. They reflect her journey from a young girl to a more mature and thoughtful person. The story of life in the annex is not just about hiding from danger. It is also about the complexities of human relationships and the resilience needed to maintain them in the face of adversity.
Chapter 7. Anne's Diary. Anne Frank's diary began as a birthday gift. She received it on her 13th birthday, just a few weeks before she and her family went into hiding. The diary, with its red and white checked cover, became Anne's trusted companion in the secret annex. When Anne started writing in her diary, she treated it like a friend. She even gave it a name, Kitty. Writing in her diary was a way for Anne to express her thoughts and feelings. It was a personal space where she could be herself. In the beginning, Anne wrote about her daily life, her family, and her friends. She described her experiences in school and the changes happening around her. But as she went into hiding, the diary became much more than a record of daily events. It turned into a reflection of her inner world and the world outside. In the secret annex, Anne's diary was a source of comfort and a way to escape the reality of her situation. She wrote about the fears, hopes, and dreams she had. She described the challenges of living in hiding, the close quarters, the need for silence, the constant fear of discovery. Anne also wrote about the relationships she had with the people in the annex. She was honest about her feelings, including her struggles, with her mother and her growing friendship with Peter Van Pels. Writing in the diary helped Anne understand her emotions and experiences. It was a way for her to process what was happening around her and within her. Anne's diary entries show her growth as a writer and a thinker. She wrote with depth and insight about the events of the war and the nature of humanity. Her writing was not just a diary. It was a thoughtful exploration of life and human behavior. Anne dreamed of becoming a writer or a journalist. As she continued writing in her diary, she began to see it as more than just a personal record. She wanted to tell her story to the world. She heard a radio broadcast from the Dutch government in exile, asking people to keep diaries and documents about the war. This inspired her even more. Anne started rewriting her diary entries, editing them for a future audience. She wanted her writing to be read by others after the war. She hoped that her words would make a difference and help people understand the experience of Jews during the war. Anne's diary is a powerful reminder of the human side of history. It shows the thoughts and feelings of a young girl living through one of the darkest periods in history. Her diary is a testament to the strength and resilience of the human spirit. It is a story of hope, courage, and the power of words to capture and share our human experiences. Anne Frank's diary, which started as a simple birthday gift, became one of the most important and moving documents of the Second World War.
In her diary, Anne Frank not only wrote about her daily life in hiding, but also about her hopes and dreams for the future. These entries are a window into Anne's inner world and aspirations. Despite the difficult circumstances she faced, Anne's spirit remained hopeful and full of dreams. Anne had a deep desire to become a writer or a journalist. She saw writing as a way to express herself and make sense of the world around her. In her diary, she wrote stories and essays, in addition to her daily entries. Anne believed in the power of words and hoped to share her thoughts and experiences with the world. She dreamed of publishing her diary after the war, hoping it would help others understand the experiences of Jews during these trying times. Anne's writings reveal her maturity and insight. She reflected on the nature of humanity, the cruelty of war, and the beauty of life. Despite the horrors happening outside, Anne believed in the goodness of people. She wrote about her belief in peace and a world without war. This shows her optimism and her belief in a better future. Anne also dreamed about love and friendship. She wrote about her developing feelings for Peter van Pels, a boy who was also in hiding with her. This relationship was a source of comfort and happiness for Anne in the Annex. It gave her a sense of normalcy in an otherwise abnormal situation. In her diary, Anne expressed her longing for freedom. She dreamed of going back to school, riding her bike, and walking freely in the streets of Amsterdam. She missed the simple pleasures of life that most people take for granted. Anne also hoped to travel after the war. She wanted to see the world and experience different cultures. Her diary entries are filled with a longing to explore and learn about the world beyond her hiding place. Education was important to Anne. She continued her studies while in hiding and wrote about her desire to go back to school and further her education. She was determined not to let the war stop her from learning and growing. Anne's hopes and dreams, as written in her diary, show her resilience and her ability to look beyond her current situation. Her words are a powerful reminder of the enduring spirit of youth and the capacity to dream, even in the darkest times. Anne Frank's diary is not just a story of survival. It is also a story of hope, dreams, and the unyielding belief in a better future. It is a testament to the power of hope to sustain us through the most challenging circumstances. Anne's diary entries about her hopes and dreams are an inspiration, showing that even in the face of adversity, one can dream of a brighter tomorrow. Chapter 8. Growing up in hiding. During her time in the secret Annex, Anne Frank experienced significant personal changes. Hidden away from the outside world, Anne grew from a young girl into a thoughtful young woman. This transformation is vividly captured in her diary, where she chronicled her evolving thoughts and feelings. Living in such close quarters with the same people every day was challenging,
and it forced Anne to mature quickly. She learned to navigate complex relationships with the other inhabitants of the Annex. This included managing disagreements and understanding different perspectives. Anne's relationship with her family, especially with her mother, Edith, was often strained. She wrote candidly about these struggles in her diary. Over time, Anne began to reflect on these relationships more deeply, understanding the challenges her mother faced and recognizing the sacrifices her parents made. Anne's views on life and the world around her also matured. Being isolated from the outside world, she spent a lot of time thinking and writing about deeper topics such as war, humanity, and her own identity. She questioned the injustices of the world and dreamed of a future where such discrimination and suffering did not exist. Anne's emotional development was another significant aspect of her growth. Living in hiding with the constant fear of discovery, Anne often experienced intense emotions. She dealt with fear, anger, frustration, and hopelessness. But she also found moments of happiness, love, and hope. Her diary was a safe space where she could process these feelings. Anne's intellectual growth was evident in her writing. She read extensively and continued her education in the Annex, showing a keen interest in history, literature, and languages. Her writing style matured over time, becoming more reflective and insightful. The experience of hiding also awakened a strong sense of empathy in Anne. She became more aware of the suffering of others, not just in the Annex, but also in the world at large. This empathy is evident in her thoughtful and compassionate diary entries. Despite the confinement and fear, Anne maintained a sense of hope and a belief in the goodness of people. This optimistic outlook is one of the most striking aspects of her personal growth. Anne's time in hiding was a period of significant personal change. It shaped her into a young woman with deep thoughts and a compassionate heart. Her diary entries from this time show her transformation and the resilience of her spirit. Anne Frank's growth in the secret Annex is a powerful reminder of the strength and potential within each person to evolve and find meaning, even in the most challenging circumstances. As Anne Frank spent more time in hiding, her view of the world evolved significantly. This transformation is reflected in her diary, where she recorded her observations and thoughts. Anne's time in the secret Annex was a period of deep reflection and learning. Cut off from the outside world, she had a lot of time to think about life and what was happening around her. Anne's writings show a shift from the concerns of a typical teenager to more profound reflections on human nature and society. She began to question the reasons behind the war and the hatred towards Jewish people. Her diary entries show a growing understanding of the complexities of the world. Anne also became more aware of the importance of human rights and the value of freedom. Being in hiding made her realize how precious and fragile these rights are. She wrote about her longing for peace and her hope for a world where people could live together in harmony, regardless of their religion or race. Despite the horrors she heard about and the danger she faced every day, Anne maintained a belief in the goodness of people. She often wrote about her belief that, despite everything, people are truly good at heart. This optimism is a recurring theme in her diary and is one of the most memorable aspects of her reflections. Anne's worldview was also shaped by the stories of bravery and resistance she heard. She was inspired by the people who risked their lives to help those persecuted during the war. These stories gave her hope and strengthened her belief in the power of courage and kindness. The experience of living in hiding also made Anne think about her own identity. She reflected on what it meant to be Jewish and how this identity had affected her life. She wrote about her pride in her heritage and her desire to be treated as an individual, not just as part of a group.
Anne's evolving worldview was also influenced by her reading. She read a wide range of books in the Annex, which broadened her understanding of the world. She was particularly interested in history and literature, which helped her develop her own opinions and ideas. Anne's time in the secret Annex was a period of significant growth in her understanding of the world. Her diary entries from this time show a young woman grappling with the complexities of life and developing a deep sense of empathy and social awareness. Anne Frank's evolution of worldview during her time in hiding is a testament to her intelligence and depth of character. It shows how, even in the most restricted circumstances, the human mind can expand and explore the most profound ideas. Anne's reflections offer insight into the thoughts and feelings of a young person trying to make sense of a world in turmoil.
Chapter 9. The Outside World. In the secret Annex, where Anne Frank and her family were hiding, their connection to the outside world was limited. However, they still received news about the war, which had a profound impact on their lives. The main source of their information was a radio, which was carefully listened to for updates on the progress of World War II. These news broadcasts were eagerly awaited by everyone in the Annex. They brought news from the front lines, updates on the Allies' progress, and information about the resistance movements in various countries. This information was a lifeline for Anne and the others, providing them with a glimpse into the world beyond their hidden walls. The news they received was often mixed. There were reports of battles, bombings, and the advancing of troops. These reports were scary and sometimes disheartening. They reminded the inhabitants of the Annex of the dangers lurking outside and the widespread suffering caused by the war. However, there were also moments of hope. News of the Allies' victories or successful resistance operations gave them a sense of hope and the possibility of an end to the war. These moments lifted their spirits and strengthened their resolve to keep hiding. Anne, in particular, was very interested in the news of the war. She followed the events closely and wrote about them in her diary. She tried to understand the political and military developments and their implications for the future. This interest in the war's progress was a sign of her growing awareness of the world and her desire to be informed and engaged. The news of the war also led to discussions among the people in the Annex. They would talk about what they heard and share their thoughts and fears. These discussions were a way for them to process the information and support each other. They also speculated about what the future might hold for them and for the world after the war. Despite the danger and uncertainty of their situation, the news from the outside world kept their hope alive. It connected them to the struggles and hopes of people everywhere. It was a reminder that they were part of a larger story unfolding across the globe. Anne's writings about the news of the war show a young woman trying to make sense of a chaotic and frightening world. Her reflections on the events of the war are a testament to her intelligence and her deep desire to understand the world. The news of the war, as received in the secret Annex, was a mix of fear, hope, and anticipation. It was a crucial link to the outside world for Anne and the others, providing them with vital information and a sense of connection to the events shaping their fate. The impact of the war on the morale of Anne Frank and the others in the secret Annex was significant. Living in constant fear and uncertainty, the news from the outside world deeply affected their spirits. The daily reports of the war brought a mix of emotions. When they heard about the advances of the Allies, there was a sense of hope and excitement. These positive updates gave them a feeling that the end of the war might be near, and they might soon be free. However, not all news was good. Reports of bombings, casualties, and the suffering of people across Europe were distressing. Hearing about the atrocities and the scale of the war was deeply upsetting. Such news often left them feeling sad, anxious, and sometimes hopeless. The uncertainty of their own situation added to the emotional strain. They did not know how long they would have to stay in hiding or what the future held for them. This uncertainty was a constant source of stress and fear. Anne, in particular, was very sensitive to the news of the war. In her diary, she wrote about her reactions to the news. She expressed her fears, her hopes, and her frustrations. She also reflected on the impact of the war on humanity and the world. These entries show a young woman grappling with the realities of a world at war. Despite the challenges, Anne and the others tried to maintain a positive outlook. They found ways to lift each other's spirits. They celebrated birthdays and holidays, even in their confined space. They shared stories and tried to find moments of joy and laughter. These small acts of normalcy were important for their morale. They helped to break the monotony of their life in hiding and gave them a sense of togetherness. The war also brought moments of reflection for Anne and the others. They talked about what the world might be like after the war. They dreamed of freedom and a return to normal life. These conversations were a way for them to hold on to hope and to imagine a future beyond the war. The impact of the war on the morale of those in the secret annex was a constant struggle between hope and despair. The news from the outside world had a profound effect on their daily lives and emotions. It influenced their thoughts, their conversations, and their outlook on life. Anne's diary entries from this time show a deep awareness of the impact of the war on their morale. They reveal a young woman who, despite the fear and uncertainty, remained hopeful and resilient. The story of Anne Frank and the others in the secret annex during the war is a powerful reminder of the human capacity to endure and maintain hope, even in the darkest of times. Chapter 10. Fear and Hope. In the secret annex where Anne Frank and her family were hiding, the fear of being discovered was a constant and overwhelming presence. This fear shaped every aspect of their daily lives. They had to be extremely cautious in everything they did. The smallest sound or slightest mistake could lead to discovery by the Nazis or informants. Anne wrote in her diary about this constant fear. She described the tension they felt whenever they heard noises from the outside or footsteps in the building. Every knock on the door or ring of the telephone sent a wave of panic through the annex. The fear was not just about the noise they might make, but also about the risk posed by others. They had to trust the few employees who knew about their hiding place. This trust was vital, yet it was hard not to worry that someone might betray them, either intentionally or accidentally. Living with this fear took a toll on everyone in the annex. It affected their sleep, their health, and their mental well-being. They had to maintain a strict silence during the workday when the office below was occupied. This meant no walking around, no talking, and being careful with every movement. They could only relax in the evenings and at night, but even then, the fear never completely went away. Anne and the others tried to stay optimistic, but the fear of discovery was always lurking in the back of their minds. It was a constant reminder of the danger they were in. This fear was heightened by the news they heard from the outside world. Reports of raids and arrests of other Jews in hiding added to their anxiety. They knew that the same thing could happen to them at any moment. Despite the fear, Anne found ways to express her feelings through her writing. She used her diary as an outlet for her fears and anxieties. Writing about her experiences helped her cope with the stress and uncertainty of their situation. The fear of being discovered was not just about the physical danger, it was also about the loss of hope and the future. They were hiding not just to survive, but to hold on to their dreams and aspirations for life after the war. This fear is a central theme in Anne Frank's diary. It shows the harsh reality of life in hiding and the constant threat that hung over them. It highlights the courage and resilience it took to live in such conditions. The fear of discovery in the secret annex was a powerful force, but it was met with an equally powerful determination to survive and maintain hope. Anne's writings from this time are a testament to the strength of the human spirit in the face of fear and anger. Despite the constant fear of being discovered, Anne Frank and the others in the secret annex clung to hope. This hope was crucial for their survival, both mentally and emotionally. It kept them going through the darkest days. Anne's diary is a testament to this enduring hope. She wrote about her belief in a better future, a world after the war where people could live in freedom and peace. This hope was not just a dream, it was a necessity. It gave them a reason to wake up each day and endure the hardships of their hidden life. The news from the outside world, though often grim, also brought them reasons to hope. They heard about the progress of the Allied forces and the resistance movements in various countries. These stories gave them a sense of connection to the world outside, and a belief that the tide of the war was turning. In the Annex, they celebrated every bit of good news as a step closer to their liberation. Hope also came from the small joys and moments of normalcy they created for themselves. Celebrating birthdays, reading books, and listening to the radio were ways to escape the harsh reality of their situation. These moments were precious and helped to lift their spirits. Anne, in particular, found hope in her writing. She dreamed of becoming a journalist or a writer after the war. She saw her diary as a way to share her story with the world. Writing gave her a sense of purpose and a way to express her deepest thoughts and feelings. The relationships and bonds formed in the Annex also provided a source of hope. The support and understanding they offered each other were vital. They shared stories, laughed together, and comforted each other in times of fear. This sense of community and solidarity was a powerful antidote to despair. Anne's relationship with Peter van Pels, a boy also in hiding with her, was a source of comfort and hope. Their friendship and growing affection brought a sense of normalcy and happiness to her life in the Annex. Despite the fear and uncertainty, Anna and the others never gave up hope. They held onto their dreams for the future. They talked about what they would do after the war, the places they would visit, and the lives they would lead. This forward-looking mindset was crucial in keeping their spirits high. The story of Anne Frank and the others in the secret annex is a profound example of the human capacity to cling to hope in the face of adversity. Their ability to maintain hope despite the fear and danger surrounding them is a powerful reminder of the resilience and strength of the human spirit. Anne's diary, with its expressions of hope and dreams for the future, continues to inspire people around the world. It shows that even in the darkest times, hope can be a guiding light, leading us towards a better tomorrow. Chapter 11. Discovery. The day Anne Frank and the others in the secret annex were discovered was a day of shock and fear. It was August 4th, 1944, a sunny morning like any other in the annex. Suddenly, their hidden life came to a terrifying end. German officers and Dutch police raided their secret hiding place. The raid was unexpected and swift. The people in the annex had little time to react or understand what was happening. The fear and panic they had lived with for so long had become a reality. The German officers stormed the annex and found the 8 people hiding there. They had been betrayed by someone, but who it was remains unknown. The betrayal was a devastating blow. They had been so careful, so cautious, and yet they had been found. The officers searched the annex, taking away everything of value. They treated Anne and the others harshly, showing no sympathy for their situation. The shock of the raid was overwhelming. For 2 years, the annex had been their safe haven, their home. Now, it was being invaded and desecrated. The fear of what would come next was paralyzing. Anne, her family and the others were arrested and taken away. They were loaded into a truck and driven through the streets of Amsterdam. The journey was a blur of fear and uncertainty. They did not know where they were being taken or what would happen to them. The raid marked the end of their life in hiding. It was the beginning of an even darker chapter in their lives. The discovery of the secret annex was a tragic turn in Anne Frank's story. It was a moment of despair and helplessness. The raid and the arrest shattered their hopes and dreams. It was a harsh reminder of the brutality of the war and the persecution they faced. The story of the raid on the secret annex is a powerful and heart-wrenching part of Anne Frank's diary. It marks the end of her written record. What followed was a journey into the unknown, filled with fear and uncertainty. The raid on the secret annex is a testament to the dangers faced by those hiding during the war. It shows the risks they took and the constant threat of discovery. Annie's diary ends here, but her story continues to be a powerful reminder of the impact of war and the courage of those who lived through it. The raid is a poignant reminder of the fragility of safety in times of war and the devastating consequences of hatred and persecution. After the raid on their secret annex, Anne Frank, her family, and the others were arrested. The moment of their arrest was filled with fear and confusion. They were suddenly torn from the place that had been their sanctuary for over 2 years. The arresting officers gave them little time to gather their belongings. They were rushed and treated harshly. The reality of their situation was stark and frightening. The group was first taken to a police station in Amsterdam. Here they were interrogated and held in cells. The shock of being in a prison environment was overwhelming. It was a stark contrast to the life they had been living, even in hiding. Their thoughts were filled with fear and uncertainty about what would come next. After a short time at the police station, they were transferred to the Westerbork transit camp, a holding point for many Jews before being sent to concentration camps. The journey to Westerbork was a harrowing experience. They were transported in a crowded train, under guard. The conditions were poor and the atmosphere was tense. The journey marked a complete loss of freedom and the beginning of an even more uncertain future. In Westerbork, the reality of their situation became even more evident. They were no longer just hiding. They were now prisoners, caught in the brutal system of the Holocaust. The fear of what would happen next was constant. They were surrounded by others who had also been arrested, all with their own stories of hiding and capture. Anne and the others spent a short time in Westerbork before being deported to Auschwitz, the infamous Nazi concentration camp. The news of their impending deportation was a devastating blow. Auschwitz was known as a place of unimaginable horror. The fear and anxiety they felt were indescribable. The arrest and the subsequent experiences were a stark contrast to the life Anne had described in her diary. The vibrant, thoughtful and hopeful young girl was now facing the darkest side of humanity. The story of Anne Frank's arrest and the end of her time in the secret annex is a powerful and tragic part of her history. It marks the end of her hopes and dreams as recorded in her diary and the beginning of a cruel and harsh reality. The arrest is a reminder of the dangers faced by Jews during the Holocaust and the brutal efficiency of the Nazi regime. Anne's arrest and the arrest of those with her are poignant reminders of the countless lives that were disrupted and destroyed during World War II. This chapter in Anne's story is a testament to the harshness of war and the human capacity for both cruelty and endurance. Chapter 12. Concentration Camps. The deportation of Anne Frank and her companions from the Westerbork transit camp to Auschwitz, a notorious Nazi concentration camp, marked a harrowing chapter in their lives. This journey was a terrifying experience, filled with uncertainty and fear. They were forced onto a train, packed into a cattle car with many other prisoners. These cars were cramped and lacked basic facilities. The journey was long and arduous, with little food or water. The conditions were inhumane, causing immense physical and emotional distress. The fear among the passengers was palpable. Everyone knew that Auschwitz was a place of great suffering and death. The uncertainty of what awaited them at the end of the journey was a source of constant dread. During the journey, Anne and the others tried to support each other. They shared what little they had and tried to maintain a sense of hope. But the reality of their situation was overwhelming. The journey to Auschwitz was not just a physical relocation. It was a journey into the darkest part of human history. It represented the loss of freedom, the loss of humanity, and the loss of life as they knew it. Upon arrival at Auschwitz, they were confronted with the brutal reality of the concentration camp. The camp was a place of despair, where the cruelty of the Nazi regime was on full display. They were immediately subjected to the harsh camp regime. Men and women were separated, which meant Anne was separated from her father and the other male members of the group. This separation added to the fear and uncertainty they all felt. In Auschwitz, the harsh conditions of life in a concentration camp quickly became apparent. The prisoners faced overcrowding, starvation, hard labor, and constant abuse from the guards. The struggle for survival was relentless. The atmosphere in the camp was one of despair and fear. The prisoners were surrounded by suffering and death. Despite these conditions, Anne and the others tried to find moments of comfort and support each other. They clung to the hope that they would survive and be reunited with their loved ones. The deportation to Auschwitz was a turning point in Anne's life. It marked the end of her relative safety in the Annex and the beginning of an unimaginable struggle for survival. This chapter of her story is a stark reminder of the horrors of the Holocaust and the suffering endured by millions of Jews and other victims of the Nazi regime. Anne's journey to Auschwitz and her experiences there are a testament to the cruelty of war and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of extreme adversity. Life in the concentration camps was a stark and brutal reality for Anne Frank and those deported with her. In Auschwitz, the largest and one of the most notorious Nazi camps, the conditions were horrendous. The prisoners, including Anne, faced unimaginable hardships every day. The camp was overcrowded, with people living in cramped and filthy conditions. Sanitation was poor, leading to the spread of diseases. The prisoners were given very little food, which was often barely edible. Hunger was a constant companion, and many people became severely malnourished. The harsh weather added to their suffering, with freezing temperatures in winter and scorching heat in summer. The prisoners were forced to do hard labor. They worked long hours with little rest, doing physically demanding tasks that pushed them to their limits. The work was exhausting, and the harsh treatment by the guards was relentless. The guards were cruel and abusive, and the threat of violence was ever present. The fear of being beaten or killed was a daily reality. The psychological toll on the prisoners was immense. They lived in constant fear and uncertainty. The sight of the crematoria and the knowledge of the mass killings that were taking place were terrifying. The loss of hope and the struggle to maintain dignity in such conditions were some of the greatest challenges they faced. Despite the harshness of camp life, the prisoners tried to support each other. They shared stories, offered comfort, and helped each other as much as they could. This sense of community, however fragile, was a source of strength for many. Anne and her sister Margot were eventually moved from Auschwitz to Bergen-Belsen, another concentration camp. Conditions in Bergen-Belsen were no better than Auschwitz. The camp was overcrowded, and the spread of disease was rampant. By this time, Anne and Margot were both very weak due to the lack of food and the harsh conditions. In these camps, Anne's dreams and hopes were overshadowed by the daily struggle for survival. The vibrant, thoughtful girl who wrote so eloquently in her diary was now facing the harshest realities of life. The story of Anne Frank's life in the concentration camps is a harrowing tale of survival against incredible odds. It highlights the cruelty and inhumanity of the Holocaust. Anne's experiences in the camps are a stark reminder of the horrors that were inflicted upon millions during World War II. This chapter of her story, though filled with despair, is also a testament to her strength and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of extreme adversity. Chapter 13. Anne's Legacy. After Anne Frank and her family were arrested and taken away from the secret Annex, the diary she had so diligently written was left behind. It was Miep Gijs, one of the Dutch citizens who had helped hide the Frank family, who found Anne's diary. Miep, who had been providing support to the family during their time in hiding, entered the Annex after the arrest. Amidst the chaos left behind by the German officers, she discovered Anne's diary. Recognizing its importance, Miep saved it with the hope of returning it to Anne after the war. Miep kept Anne's diary safe throughout the remainder of the war. It was a poignant reminder of the young girl she had come to know and care for. The diary was a tangible connection to Anne and her family, who had disappeared into the vast and inhumane system of the Nazi concentration camps. When the war finally ended, it was a time of relief, but also a time of sorrow, as the true extent of the Holocaust's horrors became apparent. Otto Frank, Anne's father, was the only member of the secret Annex group to survive. When he returned to Amsterdam, Miep gave him the diary. For Otto, reading Anne's diary was a heart-wrenching experience. It was filled with Anne's thoughts, dreams, and observations, a vivid reminder of his vibrant and insightful daughter. Otto was deeply moved by what he read. Anne's diary was not just a personal account of her life in hiding. It was a powerful narrative of the war and its impact on ordinary people. Her words brought to life the human side of the Holocaust, a perspective that was both intimate and profound. Realizing the significance of Anne's writings, Otto decided to fulfill his daughter's dream of becoming a writer. He took on the task of finding a publisher for her diary. It was not an easy journey, as many publishers were initially hesitant. However, Otto was determined to share Anne's story with the world. Finally, in 1947, The Diary of a Young Girl was published. It was an immediate success, touching the hearts and minds of readers worldwide. Anne's honest and eloquent words resonated with people of all ages and backgrounds. Her diary provided a unique and personal insight into the war and the experiences of Jews under Nazi persecution. Anne's legacy began with the discovery and preservation of her diary. It continued with its publication, allowing her voice to be heard long after her death. Her diary has since become one of the most important and influential books in the world, translated into numerous languages and read by millions. Anne Frank's diary is a testament to the power of the human spirit and the enduring impact of one young girl's courage and hope. Through her diary, Anne's dreams of becoming a writer and making a difference in the world were realized. Her legacy continues to inspire and educate, reminding us of the horrors of the past and the need to fight against intolerance and injustice. The publication of Anne Frank's diary marked the beginning of her enduring legacy. When her father, Otto Frank, succeeded in getting the diary published in 1947, it was titled The Diary of a Young Girl. The initial reaction to the diary was mixed. Some people were deeply moved by Anne's words and the stark honesty with which she described her life in hiding. Others found it hard to believe that a young girl could write so insightfully about her experiences and emotions. However, as more people read the diary, its impact grew. Anne's diary provided a unique and personal perspective on the Holocaust, one that was not captured in news reports or history books. Her vivid descriptions of life in hiding, her fears, her hopes and her dreams resonated with readers. It brought the reality of the Holocaust into sharp focus, showing the human cost of the war and the persecution of Jews. The diary quickly gained international attention. It was translated into numerous languages and read by people all over the world. Each translation brought Anne's story to a new audience, spreading her message of hope, resilience, and the need for tolerance and understanding. Readers of all ages and backgrounds were moved by Anne's story. Many were struck by her maturity and depth of understanding. Her reflections on life, war, and humanity were both profound and relatable. Anne's diary became a source of inspiration and education. It was used in schools to teach about the Holocaust and the dangers of hatred and discrimination. The publication of the diary also sparked discussions about the Holocaust, war, and human rights. It became a symbol of the suffering caused by war and the resilience of the human spirit. Anne's words challenged people to think about their own beliefs and actions. Her diary encouraged empathy and a deeper understanding of the impact of war on individuals and families. Anne's legacy was further cemented by the adaptation of her diary into plays and films. These adaptations brought her story to life in new ways, reaching even wider audiences. The Anne Frank house in Amsterdam, where Anne and her family hid, was turned into a museum. It became a place of pilgrimage for those touched by her story. The museum not only tells the story of Anne and her family, but also educates visitors about the Holocaust and the importance of fighting against prejudice and discrimination. The publication and reaction to Anne Frank's diary have made it one of the most important and influential books of the 20th century. Her diary has become a symbol of hope and resilience in the face of adversity. Anne's dream of becoming a writer and making a difference in the world was realized beyond her wildest expectations. Her legacy continues to inspire and challenge people to build a better, more tolerant world. Through her words, Anne Frank remains a beacon of hope and a reminder of the importance of standing up against injustice and hatred. Chapter 14. Reflections on War and Humanity. Anne Frank's life and her diary offer profound lessons on war and humanity. Her experiences during World War II as a young Jewish girl hiding from the Nazis provide insights into the resilience of the human spirit and the horrors of war. One of the key lessons from Anne's life is the importance of hope. Despite the fear and uncertainty she faced while hiding in the Annex, Anne maintained a hopeful outlook. Her diary entries often reflect a belief in a better future and the goodness of people. This sense of hope, even in the darkest times, is a powerful reminder of the strength and resilience that reside within us all. Anne's life also teaches us about the impact of war on individuals and families. Her diary brings a personal perspective to the events of the Holocaust, showing how war can disrupt and destroy lives. Her writings highlight the human cost of conflict, going beyond statistics and historical accounts to touch the hearts of readers with her personal story of suffering and endurance. Another important lesson from Anne's life is the value of tolerance and understanding. Her diary reflects on the prejudice and discrimination she faced, providing a poignant reminder of the dangers of hatred. Anne's story is a call to fight against intolerance and to foster a world where people are respected and valued regardless of their religion, race, or background. The power of the written word is another significant lesson from Anne's life. Her diary has educated and inspired millions around the world, showing how one person's voice can make a difference. Anne's honest and thoughtful writing has brought attention to the atrocities of the Holocaust and has served as a catalyst for discussions about human rights and the importance of remembering history. Anne's reflections on life, even as a young girl, are incredibly insightful. Her diary shows a maturity beyond her years, offering deep reflections on life, humanity, and the world. Through her words, Anne challenges us to think critically about our actions and their impact on others. Lastly, Anne Frank's life teaches us about the need for empathy and compassion. Her story evokes a deep sense of empathy and connection, reminding us of our shared humanity. In a world often divided by differences, Anne's story serves as a bridge, encouraging us to understand and care for each other. Anne Frank's life and diary are more than just a historical account. They are a source of lessons about war, humanity, and the enduring human spirit. Her story continues to resonate with people of all ages, reminding us of the past's lessons and the need to build a more compassionate and tolerant world. Anne's life and words stand as a testament to the power of hope, the importance of tolerance, and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. Anne Frank's diary and the story of her life have had a lasting impact on future generations, shaping how they understand and reflect upon war and humanity. Her diary, a personal account of life during one of the darkest periods in history, has become an invaluable educational tool. It has enlightened countless people about the realities of war and the Holocaust, making these historical events more tangible and relatable. Anne's story has encouraged empathy and understanding, allowing readers to see the human face of history. For many young people, Anne's diary is often their first encounter with the history of World War II and the Holocaust. Her perspective as a young girl makes her experiences accessible and relatable. Her fears, hopes, and dreams resonate with young readers, making the lessons of history more impactful. Her diary serves as a powerful reminder of the consequences of war, hatred, and discrimination. It encourages young people to think critically about these issues and to value peace and tolerance. Anne's story has also had a significant impact on Holocaust education and remembrance. Her diary is used in schools around the world to teach about the Holocaust and to promote human rights. Her life and words are a catalyst for discussions about the importance of remembering history and learning from it. Through Anne's story, students learn about the importance of standing up against injustice and the value of every human life. Beyond education, Anne Frank's influence extends to the arts and culture. Her story has inspired plays, films, and books, broadening the reach of her message. These adaptations have kept her story alive in popular culture, ensuring that her experiences continue to engage and educate new audiences. Anne's diary has also played a role in shaping public attitudes towards war and its victims. Her story humanizes the statistics and facts of war, allowing people to connect emotionally with the experiences of those who suffer in conflicts. This connection fosters a deeper understanding of the impact of war on individuals and communities, encouraging a more compassionate and humane response to contemporary conflicts. Moreover, Anne's legacy includes the Anne Frank House in Amsterdam, which serves as a museum and educational centre. The museum not only preserves the history of Anne Frank and her family, but also serves as a reminder of the dangers of intolerance and the importance of fighting against prejudice and anti-Semitism. In conclusion, the impact of Anne Frank's life and diary on future generations is profound. Her story has educated, moved, and inspired people around the world. It has made a significant contribution to Holocaust education and has fostered empathy and understanding across generations. Anne's reflections on war and humanity continue to resonate, reminding us of the need to cherish peace, promote tolerance, and remember the lessons of the past. Through her diary, Anne Frank has become a symbol of hope and resilience, and her legacy continues to influence and shape the way we think about war, humanity, and our shared history. Chapter 15. Memorials and Remembrance. The Anne Frank House in Amsterdam is a poignant and powerful memorial to Anne Frank and her family's story. Located at 263 Prinsengracht, the very building where Anne and her family hid for over 2 years, it now stands as a museum dedicated to her memory. This house, once a secret annex, has been preserved to help visitors understand Anne's life during the war. The rooms where Anne and the others lived are kept much as they were, offering a stark and moving look into their daily lives in hiding. The museum also includes the actual bookcase that covered the entrance to the secret annex, a symbolic reminder of their hidden life. Visitors to the Anne Frank house are able to walk through the rooms of the annex, experiencing the confined and secretive world where Anne wrote her diary. The museum provides an intimate glimpse into Anne's world, her family, and the others who shared the annex. The original diary of Anne Frank is also on display, a powerful and tangible connection to her story. The museum not only commemorates Anne's life, but also serves as an educational centre. It provides information about the Holocaust, the Frank family's history, and the broader context of World War II. Through exhibits, personal stories, and historical documents, the museum educates visitors about the dangers of anti-Semitism, racism, and discrimination. The Anne Frank House also hosts various temporary exhibitions that focus on themes related to Anne's life, the Holocaust, and human rights issues. These exhibitions help to keep Anne's message relevant to current and future generations, showing the ongoing importance of her story in today's world. The museum is not just a place of remembrance, it's also a place of learning and reflection. It challenges visitors to think about the value of tolerance, the importance of human rights, and the impact of war on individuals and societies. The Anne Frank House has become a significant landmark in Amsterdam and a must-visit site for people from all over the world. It attracts millions of visitors each year, each coming to pay their respects and to learn from Anne's life and writings. The house serves as a poignant reminder of the horrors of the Holocaust and the need to remember and learn from the past. In essence, the Anne Frank House stands as a powerful tribute to a young girl whose voice has echoed through generations. It's a place that embodies the loss, hope, and resilience that Anne's diary represents. This memorial ensures that Anne Frank's story continues to be told, serving as a beacon of remembrance and a call to action against the forces of hatred and bigotry. The Anne Frank House is not just a museum. It's a testament to the enduring impact of Anne Frank's life and legacy on the world. Beyond the Anne Frank House in Amsterdam, there are numerous memorials around the world that honor Anne Frank's legacy and the millions of others who suffered during the Holocaust. These global memorials serve as powerful reminders of the past and as symbols of hope and resilience. One significant memorial is the Anne Frank Center for Mutual Respect in New York City. This center promotes the values of mutual respect and understanding through the legacy of Anne Frank. It hosts various educational programs and exhibitions, spreading Anne's message of tolerance and the need to fight against prejudice and injustice. In Germany, Anne Frank's birthplace, Frankfurt, has the Anne Frank Educational Center, which serves as an educational site. It offers workshops, guided tours, and exhibitions about Anne's life, the Holocaust, and the dangers of racism and discrimination. This center also focuses on Anne's relevance in today's world, drawing lessons from her life for current and future generations. Several schools and libraries across the world have been named after Anne Frank, keeping her story alive in educational settings. These institutions often have programs and resources dedicated to teaching about Anne's life, the Holocaust, and the importance of human rights. They serve as places of learning and reflection, encouraging young people to learn from history and to promote a culture of peace and tolerance. Statues and sculptures of Anne Frank have been erected in various cities, including Amsterdam, Utrecht, and Philadelphia. These statues are often located in public spaces, making Anne's story accessible to all. They serve as quiet reminders of her life and the impact of her writings. People who visit these memorials often leave messages or flowers, showing how Anne's story continues to touch hearts and inspire people. Holocaust memorials in many cities around the world also include references to Anne Frank. These memorials are dedicated to the memory of all the victims of the Holocaust, and Anne's story is often highlighted as a symbol of the innocent lives lost. The memorials often feature quotes from Anne's diary, emphasizing her hope and her belief in the goodness of people. In addition to physical memorials, there are numerous online platforms and initiatives dedicated to preserving Anne Frank's legacy. These digital memorials offer virtual tours, educational resources, and interactive content about Anne's life and the Holocaust. They ensure that Anne's story reaches a global audience, transcending geographical boundaries. The global memorials dedicated to Anne Frank play a crucial role in keeping her story alive. They not only honor her memory, but also serve as constant reminders of the lessons we must learn from history. These memorials inspire people to stand against hatred and to work towards a world of tolerance, understanding, and mutual respect. Anne's legacy, embodied in these memorials, continues to impact and inspire, showing the enduring power of her story and the importance of remembering the past to shape a better future. Chapter 16. Inspiration and Hope. Anne Frank's diary has left an enduring message of inspiration and hope that continues to resonate across the world. Her personal account of life during a time of unimaginable hardship and fear has become a symbol of resilience and the power of the human spirit. One of the most profound messages from Anne's diary is her unwavering hope in the face of adversity. Despite the constant danger and the oppressive conditions in which she lived, Anne believed in a better future. Her words reflect an optimistic outlook and a belief in the goodness of people, even when surrounded by hatred and cruelty. This optimism, coming from a young girl in such dire circumstances, has inspired millions and serves as a reminder of the strength that lies in hope. Another significant aspect of Anne's enduring message is her insight into human nature. Through her reflections and observations, Anne displayed a maturity far beyond her years. She wrote about the complexities of the human soul, the need for kindness, and the importance of understanding and respecting one another. Her diary is a testament to the depth of her thoughts and her ability to find light even in the darkest of times. Anne's diary also highlights the importance of having a voice and the power of writing. Through her words, Anne has become a voice for the millions who were silenced during the Holocaust. Her diary shows how writing can be a powerful tool for expression, for coping with difficult situations, and for leaving a mark on the world. It encourages people to share their stories and to listen to the stories of others. Furthermore, Anne's story is a call to remember and learn from the past. Her diary provides a personal connection to the events of the Holocaust, making the historical facts more relatable and impactful. It serves as a powerful reminder of the consequences of hatred and intolerance and the importance of remembering history to prevent such atrocities from happening again. Anne's message of hope and her reflections on life continue to inspire people to strive for a better world. Her belief in the power of young people to change the world resonates strongly today. Anne's story encourages younger generations to think critically, to stand up against injustice, and to believe in their ability to make a difference. In conclusion, Anne Frank's enduring message is one of hope, resilience, and the power of the human spirit. Her diary continues to inspire and teach people about the importance of tolerance, empathy, and understanding. Anne's optimistic outlook, her insightful reflections on life, and her belief in the goodness of people are timeless lessons that continue to resonate with people of all ages. Her story is a beacon of hope and a reminder of the impact one person's voice can have on the world. Anne Frank's legacy is a call to action to build a more compassionate, understanding and tolerant society. Anne Frank's impact on the world extends far beyond her diary. Her story has become a powerful symbol of the resilience and strength of the human spirit in the face of adversity. Anne's diary has touched the hearts of millions, transcending time, language, and culture. It has made her one of the most well-known victims of the Holocaust and a universal figure representing the suffering caused by war and persecution. Her diary has played a critical role in Holocaust education, providing a personal and relatable perspective on the events. It has helped generations understand the human aspect of this tragic history, teaching about the dangers of hatred, intolerance, and discrimination. Anne's story has become a tool for promoting empathy and human rights, encouraging readers to reflect on their values and actions. Anne Frank's influence is also evident in the arts. Her life and diary have inspired numerous plays, films, books, and artworks. These creative works have brought her story to new audiences, keeping her legacy alive and relevant. Her diary has been adapted into several plays and films, most notably The Diary of Anne Frank, which have been viewed by millions around the world. These adaptations have helped to keep her memory alive and introduced her story to those who may not have read her diary. Moreover, Anne's impact extends to social and human rights movements. She has become a symbol of the fight against oppression and injustice. Her story inspires people to stand up for what is right and to work towards a more just and peaceful world. Organizations and movements have used her story to advocate for human rights and to fight against racism and prejudice. Anne Frank's influence is also seen in the numerous memorials and educational centers established in her honor. These institutions not only preserve her memory, but also serve as places of learning and reflection about the Holocaust and its lessons for today. The Anne Frank House in Amsterdam, the Anne Frank Center for Mutual Respect in New York, and other centers around the world play a crucial role in educating about Anne's life and the broader context of the Holocaust. The global impact of Anne Frank is a testament to the power of one person's voice. Her diary has become a beacon of hope and resilience, inspiring people to believe in the goodness of humanity, even in the darkest of times. Anne's story encourages individuals to make a difference in the world, to stand up against injustice, and to cherish and protect human rights. In conclusion, Anne Frank's impact on the world is profound and enduring. Her diary and her story have become symbols of hope, resilience, and the human capacity to endure and fight against oppression. Her legacy continues to inspire and educate, reminding us of the importance of tolerance, empathy, and the need to protect human rights.